Xiaoqi, and I'm a senior at Chaois School who has an interest in pursuing marine biology/science with some kind of climate change minor. My target is to become some kind of marine biologist or a marine veterinarian in the future. And then, so the first question is, what do you specialize in marine biology?
I'm specialising in, or trying to specialise in, elasmobranchs, so that's sharks, skates, and rays. Which, yeah, I just find I didn't get into them until I was like 2 years into my degree. And then I started finding out more about them, and I was like, these guys are cool. But before that, I had no idea what area I wanted to specialise in. It's quite late, really.
And then, what is your favorite part about being a marine biologist?
I think the variety. So you have, as much as I'd love it if it was all fieldwork, you also have the balance of being in the labs as well, or in the office. You can engage and interact with loads of different groups, from the public to different stakeholders. And then any day that you are in the field or out in the ocean, you could see anything. And I think it's really exciting. And it's the main area of discovery. So I think there's so many animals to discover out there. So yeah, just a good balance and opportunities to travel the world and experience new things. And yeah.
And then what inspired you to go into the marine field?
I actually always wanted to be a vet. So a bit like you were talking about veterinary, marine veterinary, but just normal veterinary practice was what I always wanted to do. And then I went on a family holiday to Florida, and we tried scuba diving. And I was just like, well, this is really cool. And thought, well, it's going to be a shorter course than veterinary, and there'll be more travel, and I'll get to scuba dive and things like that. So it was literally this holiday when I was 14 that just introduced me to the marine world, because I'm from the UK, and even though we're an island, we don't have a particularly strong relationship with our sea in the same way as I think some other coastal regions do. So I hadn't thought about it until I was in the nice tropical waters. And that's what inspired me. And from 14, I then changed my mind and worked towards doing marine biology. Yeah.
I definitely was the same thing. Like, I was younger, I didn't watch any kid shows. I always watched animal veterinary shows, so that's what got me into veterinarian. And then when I got older, I was like, I need to figure out what kind of veterinary I want to do. Yeah. And I guess since I am in California, and my school's kind of near the coast-ish, we've gone to Catalina Island for a field trip once, and I got to see a bunch of the marine fish. We went snorkeling there, and I was like, this is really cool. And in past years, I've always learned about the coral reef and the coral reef systems, and I'm like, this is cool. I might want to do this when I'm older. And it kind of went set in stone after I did a bit more researching about ocean acidification and stuff like that. And I was like, this is I want to do this when I'm older, but I want to be stuck with my veterinary career. So I was like, why not just merge the two in some kind of way?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, there's lots of courses run here that train people up to be marine mammal medics. So you get lots of kind of seal strandings or cetaceans and stuff. So you can definitely, you can balance out how you want it to be, how much veterinary or how much not. But even if you go down more the marine biology route, you can still have aspects of kind of the medic side there, which is really cool. But that's amazing that your school does that and takes you to these places, because I think unless people get these experiences, they don't connect with the ocean in the same way. And like you're saying with climate change, I mean, the ocean is one of the major factors that's going to help us have a more stable future. And if we can stabilize the ocean and keep its biodiversity, then that's going to be a huge thing.
Definitely. And then what inspired you? And then what does a typical day look like for you on the job?
So my days vary quite a lot. My job at the moment, I work with Celtic Deep in Wales. So if we've got a trip going out, then it can be a really long day. So we take people out to see different animals. But one of my favorite days is going offshore to see the blue sharks, and we get in and swim with them. And those days, we might meet down the boat as staff at 6:30, make sure that we've got all the kit for the customers and have everything ready. And then we head offshore. It's a 2-hour boat ride offshore, get about 30 miles out. And then we turn the engines off and we sit there, we put some chum in the water and we wait and we watch and we, enjoy all the other marine life that comes by, but we're waiting for the sharks and see if they come. And it's, their choice. We put out the queue of the chum, but it's their choice if they follow it and come to us and how long they stay for. If we are lucky enough to have sharks, we then get into the water, and in small groups the guests will join us too, and we have very passive interactions. It should all be on the animals' terms. We don't want to influence their behavior or cause them to leave an area or anything like that. More trumming's always going to have some controversy around it, but we try and minimize our impact on that. So we don't go out every day and we go to different areas. So if they do come, we get to swim with them in the water, and they often have stuck around for several hours. They're really, really inquisitive. They'll come right up to you, check out camera gear if you've got any camera gear. They often like checking out people's fins, and they're just incredible animals to be in the water with. And then we all finally get back on the boat and chug back to shore. And it's great. You get in, you see sunset maybe, and have a drink on the harbour wall, and it's fantastic. But they're long days. They're like 10, 12-hour days at sea. And the weather can be variable. It can be quite rough. It can be smooth. It all adds to the excitement. You never know what you're going to have when you're going offshore. And that's balanced out by days that are in the office and are looking at papers or what can we do, or bookings and admin and all sorts of things. We're just developing an educational outreach program, so it will just be balanced by going into schools and different community groups. So it's really varied, marine biology, and my job is it plays to that. So some long days in the ocean, some long days in the office.
And then what are some like the amazing things you have seen / discovered when you're out on the field?
Some of the amazing things seen. So when I was volunteering in South Africa, I got there on my first day as the only intern, and we went a quarter of a mile offshore, so just by the coast really, to this tiny little reef, jumped in the water, and then this Amura's whale swam past us, and I had no idea what type of whale it was. I don't really know my cetacean species very well, and then it turned out it was this Amura's, and they were only, I think, just kind of classified in, it's like 2009 or something, which for a whale is really recent. And most of their research has been done up near Mozambique. So to see it in South Africa was quite exciting. And yes, so that was just an example of, you can jump in the ocean, you have no idea what you're going to see. We've also had things like, I love seeing sunfish like mola mola, and we've had those off whales when we're out there, and you're just watching the water, and there's just this flapping going on at the surface. What is going on? And then it's the bizarre looking sunfish, which is just such an incredible animal to see.
They're so bizarre looking, like they're really huge, and they're like
bizarre looking. I don't
they're just so they're so weird looking, but like they somehow survive in the water, which is like amazing.
It's like, how has the evolution led to this? I always think they look like they should kind of topple forwards, or
how do they balance? Like they don't look like they should be swimming horizontally. They should be like swimming like a plate or something, like
exactly. Or like a saucer just floating around. But I mean, they're so cool to see. I've also just recently got like quite into jellyfish, just because I think, well, they're one of the winners of climate change, so they're doing quite well. But if there's nothing else in the water, you often can see jellyfish, and so it's like a really nice thing to be excited by. Same with seabirds, like if nothing else is around, there'll often be birds or something. So I do love seeing both of those, and I'm trying to learn more about them, and I just find the more you know about something, the more you get out of seeing it. So that's fun. And we've seen we saw like bluefin tuna jumping around, and bait balls and fin whales in the distance and things. So had some really cool experiences. Been very lucky.
And then, as we're currently living through a climate crisis, what are some major effects of climate change on your specific area of work?
I'd say so. Last season, we had quite an unusual season for the blue sharks. They arrived quite late, and we think it was possibly due to having quite a cold snap in spring. So maybe it delayed the migration of them. And then it was patchy throughout the season, and there were actually some harmful algal blooms which are happening more frequently with climate change. So it's a combination between warmer temperatures and also too much nutrients in the water, which can be for a number of reasons, including kind of nutrient runoff from the land. So those effects, increased water temperature and changes in our seasonal climates and things, we think played an influence in having an unusual season last year. So that's already showing its effects in that way. But I think sadly with the ocean, it's so complex that anything that ocean acidification will affect certain species, which are probably the prey to others, and then eventually everything trickles up and trickles down, so it will end up having an effect on everything. But yeah, we've certainly seen problems with harmful algal blooms recently.
Yeah, like I remember learning about all about algae blooms last year, my environmental science classroom. I'm just how did it get so out of proportionate? They just explode randomly, and it just keeps on growing and growing.
Just out of control, aren't they? And then they can end up with oxygen dead zones and things.
Yeah.
Which it's really significant because there's something they're such a huge problem, and the causes are so they have to be fought on such a global level that it feels you're a little bit like, what do we do? What can I do to help that? How can I change it? But they're a scary one.
And then what are some common misconceptions about marine biology and being a marine biologist?
I think that you just lie on the beach and play with dolphins. Certainly, I think there's some scope within marine biology to make angle your career how you want it. There's certain jobs you can go for or not go for. But I'd say, there's the idea of marine biologists just kind of having a great time being on holiday the whole time, and you do get to go. You have the potential to go to some incredible places and see some amazing things, but you also, it can be a hard job and long days and long hours. And it's something that I try and tell people is marine biology is kind of known for being quite hard to get jobs in. And I think there's a bit of a misconception that it's because it's saturated and there's enough marine biologists. But I think that's not the case. There's so much we need to do with the ocean, so much we need to learn. That it's not that it's a saturated field. We need more marine biologists. It's just that there isn't enough money in that sector yet. It's not appreciated enough yet by governments and by businesses to put the money there. So getting paid jobs can be hard because it's not funded. So lots of the research is done by more NGOs and stuff. But I always say to people, if this is your interest, go for it. You will be able to find jobs and you can do things related to the ocean. And I think that with time, there will be more and more funding put towards the ocean, and finding a way to, make our world better using that, because it's the biggest ecosystem on it. The ocean's huge. It's our biggest stabilizer. It influences the climate. So that's, I think, only going to be more and more appreciated with time. So don't feel like there's not room for another marine biologist. There is.
I heard those fields were really competitive to go into marine biology too, depending on what section of marine biology you want to enter. So that's something I definitely have to look out for, and try to take as many opportunities as I can in order to build up to that moment.
Getting experience, and also if you're able to get additional kind of qualifications or experience, if you have experience in sailing or experience diving, or you're really good at stats and genetics or software, those kinds of things, anything that is something in addition to your degree is really helpful. It can then get a bit unfair and unequal, because many of those things depend on you having the time or money to be able to do those, which is where there's a big problem with conservation in general at the moment. So terrestrial and marine is that you often need to have experience to get the roles, and you might have to volunteer to get the experience, which means that some people can't afford to do that. And I think that's a huge issue that needs to be tackled.
Okay. And then the final question is, what are some of your favorite marine animals?
Okay, so my favorite animals are sharks. And I people always ask me if I had a favorite shark, and I was like, no, I don't have a favorite one. But now, having worked with blue sharks, they might be sneaking into first place, just because they're such amazing animals to be in the water with. Like I was saying before, they're just so inquisitive, which is really amazing. And they also, I think, because of they are the most abundant shark species in the world and the most widely distributed, but they're also the most caught. And there's a lot of work, I think, to be done to try and make sure that they're managed properly, and that they're conserved. And they're facing like huge declines at the moment. So yeah, so I would say that blue sharks are probably my current favorite marine species. But I also love, there's like a little reef fish called a toby, which I just think is really cute. And I absolutely love nudibranchs. I just think when you look at slugs on land, they're just really quite dull. And then you look at nudibranchs, which is a type of, a group of sea slugs. You look at them in the marine environment and they're just incredible. They're just full of colors and different designs. And yeah, they're just
they have like really
cool.
vibrant like colors too.
They're vibrant, yeah. They're just awesome. And there's so many of those as well, which are unidentified still, or like what's the right word? I don't know. They're not scientifically named, because you have to have had two of the same one to officially put them as a species. And I guess a lot of them have only been seen once or recorded once. Yeah, if you want to name a species, try and look at some nudibranchs, find a new one.
Yeah. I'm like biased with my favorite marine animal, like because my school's like mascot is a dolphin, so I think dolphins has kind of been ingrained in my mind for a while. But I also find like how like interesting, like how smart and intellectual they are, because like I remember watching this video of like they put like a mirror in front of some dolphins and they were like able to recognize themselves in the mirror, which is like not a lot of animals do. Like they either think it's another animal and they try to like fight it or get scared by it, or they just ignore it altogether. So I find it really interesting that they can recognize as themselves, and they try to like get different body parts of themselves that they normally don't see. And that's why I find them really fascinating.
Yeah, I think like looking at their behavior is just incredible, and learning more about that is like, I find that with orcas, you're just like, they're so intelligent, and their ability to work together and stuff, you're just, wow, that is impressive.
No,
they are incredible. I'm actually getting a little bit more into my dolphins and things, because we see quite a lot around the UK coast, so I'm trying to learn more about them. It's really interesting.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure talking with you. We'll end the interview here. Thank you. Have the strangest feeling.